M1 Abrams, the America's answer to modern armored warfare. Introduced in the early 1980s, it combined three decisive elements: firepower, mobility, and protection. At its core, a 120mm smoothbore gun, capable of defeating the most advanced armor of its time. Supporting it, advanced fire control systems, thermal imaging, and precision engagement even at long range. Its armor, a layered composite with depleted uranium inserts, nearly unmatched in defensive strength, resistant to most anti-tank weapons when it entered service. Mobility came from an unusual choice: a gas turbine engine, extremely powerful, giving rapid acceleration, but fuel-hungry, a logistical challenge in prolonged campaigns. Battlefield history proved its worth. From the Gulf War to Iraq, Abrams demonstrated overwhelming dominance against Soviet-era designs. Losses were minimal, usually to roadside bombs, rather than tank versus tank duels. The Abrams became more than a tank. It became a symbol of American military strength, a machine designed not just to fight, but to overmatch. Leopard 2, the Germany's flagship battle tank, and one of the most respected designs worldwide. First introduced in the late 1970s, it evolved from lessons of the Cold War. Its design philosophy, balance, not just armor, not just firepower, but all three dimensions of tank warfare working in harmony. Its main weapon, the Rheinmetall 120mm smoothbore gun, so effective that it became the standard for NATO, arming not only the Leopard 2, but also tanks like the M1 Abrams. Armor protection emphasizes advanced composites, especially on the frontal arc, designed to withstand Soviet 125mm shells and later upgraded to resist modern kinetic and chemical rounds. Mobility is another key. With a 1,500 horsepower diesel engine, the Leopard 2 combines speed with endurance. Unlike the fuel-hungry turbine of the Abrams, it moves fast across open terrain, but can also operate for long stretches without constant resupply. Operational history shows its reliability. Used by more than a dozen nations, it performed in Afghanistan and more recently in Ukraine. Its reputation: precise, dependable, and survivable. If Abrams represents raw power, Leopard 2 represents refined engineering. A tank not just for Germany, but for the Western Alliance as a whole. The Challenger 2, Britain's main battle tank, designed with one priority above all: protection. Introduced in the 1990s, it carries the famous Dorchester armor, an advanced evolution of Chobham composite. In combat, this armor has proven nearly impenetrable. Challenger 2s have survived direct hits that would have destroyed most other tanks. Its main weapon is distinctive: a rifled 120mm gun. Unlike the smoothbore cannons common in NATO, the rifled barrel allows Challenger 2 to fire specialized high-explosive squash head rounds, highly effective against fortifications, but it also means less commonality with NATO's standard ammunition. Mobility is solid, but not exceptional. Its diesel engine gives endurance, but speed is not its strong suit. The tank is designed to outlast and outfight rather than outmaneuver. On the battlefield, Challenger 2 has an impressive record. In Iraq, it was regarded as the most survivable tank, with very few losses and almost none to enemy armor. Its role is clear. Where Abrams and Leopard 2 strike with mobility and firepower, Challenger 2 endures. It represents the British doctrine that a tank must stay alive, no matter the odds. T-64, a Soviet tank that never saw export in large numbers, yet changed tank design forever. Developed in the 1960s, it introduced features that became standard for later Soviet and Russian tanks, most notably the autoloader. By removing the need for a human loader, the T-64 reduced crew size to 3. This allowed a smaller, lighter tank profile, harder to hit, cheaper to produce. Its gun was powerful. The 125mm smoothbore cannon, larger than NATO's 105mm at the time. Combined with guided missile capability, it gave the T-64 long-range striking power. Armor protection was another innovation. Composite materials were layered into the design, making it resistant to weapons that easily destroyed earlier tanks. But the T-64 had problems. Its autoloader was unreliable at first, and its engine was notoriously complex to maintain. It was considered too advanced for many Soviet allies, which is why it remained mostly in Soviet service. Despite these issues, the T-64 was a game-changer. It laid the foundation for the T-72, T-80, and beyond. In many ways, it was the blueprint for the Soviet tank doctrine of the next decades. T-72. If the T-64 was revolutionary, the T-72 was evolutionary and mass-produced to become the backbone of the Eastern Bloc. First fielded in the early 1970s, it kept many innovations of the T-64, a 125mm smoothbore gun, an autoloader, and a 3-man crew. But it simplified the engineering, making the tank cheaper, more reliable, and easier to build in massive numbers. This was the tank designed for quantity. Tens of thousands were produced, exported to allies across the Warsaw Pact, the Middle East, and beyond. From Iraq to Syria, from Yugoslavia to Ukraine, the T-72 became one of the most widely used tanks in history. Its strengths, affordability, firepower, and availability. Its weaknesses, protection, and survivability. Against modern NATO tanks, the T-72 proved vulnerable. Conflicts from Desert Storm to the Russo-Ukrainian War showed its limitations when facing Western armor and precision weapons. Still, the T-72 achieved its purpose. It gave the Soviet Union and its allies a tank that could fill battlefields in overwhelming numbers. It was never the best, but it was always there. T-80 and T-90. The Soviet attempt to push the tank design of the T-64 and T-72 into a more advanced direction. Introduced in the late 1970s, it was the first Soviet tank with a gas turbine engine. The idea matched NATO's speed and mobility with rapid acceleration and high power. But like the Abrams, it came with a cost: enormous fuel consumption. In prolonged operations, logistics became a nightmare. The T-80 retained the 125mm smoothbore gun and autoloader, with upgraded armor and fire control systems. It was meant to be the elite spearhead tank, but its performance in Chechnya revealed weaknesses. Poor tactics and lack of crew training led to heavy losses, tarnishing its reputation. Then came the T-90. Emerging in the 1990s, it was essentially an evolution of the T-72 design, improved with modern fire control, better armor, and active protection systems. Cheaper and more practical than the T-80, it became Russia's primary main battle tank. Today, the T-90 remains the backbone of Russian armored forces, with upgrades like the T-90M. Meanwhile, the T-80 is still in service in smaller numbers, mostly modernized variants. Together, they represent the two paths of late Soviet tank design, one ambitious but costly, the other practical and enduring. Modern MBTs. Not all modern tanks come from NATO or Russia. Around the world, other nations developed their own main battle tanks, each shaped by unique doctrines and battlefields. The Israeli Merkava Mark IV. Unlike Western tanks, it was designed with crew survival as the highest priority. Engine in the front, heavy armor, and a rear compartment that can carry infantry. Its 120mm gun is highly accurate, and its trophy active protection system makes it one of the best defended tanks in service. The South Korean K-2 Black Panther, a showcase of high technology, armed with a 120mm gun, advanced fire control, and an automatic loading system. It features hydropneumatic suspension, allowing it to kneel or tilt for better firing positions. Expensive, but one of the most advanced tanks ever built. The Chinese Type 99, China's answer to Western and Russian MBTs, combining a 125mm gun with modern armor and electronics. It represents the modernization of the People's Liberation Army. While less battle-proven than Western tanks, it demonstrates China's growing armored capability. These tanks show how the main battle tank is still evolving. Different designs, different philosophies, but one purpose: to dominate the battlefield in the age of modern warfare. SAS. The Special Air Service, or SAS, was born in the deserts of North Africa during World War II. Instead of fighting head-on, these soldiers struck behind enemy lines, sabotage missions, ambushes, and daring raids against German airfields. Their motto, "Who dares wins," became a philosophy. After the war, the SAS shifted to new threats: In the 1950s, they fought guerrillas in Malaya, mastering jungle warfare.